Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at the 60-minute session on sustainable business practice as a competitive advantage. My name is Michal Veselý. I work for JIC and I will be your host today. We are here to discuss sustainability as a business opportunity the whole afternoon. Every year shows growing numbers of companies that identify business opportunities in making their products and services less harmful to the environment, and also see the competitive advantage, as we see before in the session. And now we from these guys will hear what are the good practices, what are the innovations which are already in the market, and what is the competitive edge. Before I introduce the 5 panelists which accepted the invitation, I'll just have the technical remark we already heard, that you are very welcome to use the application and get involved in the discussion, so the questions are not only my questions or the panelists' questions to each other, but also your one. And now let me introduce the panelists. Martin Janáček is the managing director of SAP Labs, SAP Labs in the Czech Republic, vice president of AIC team. And Martin identifies with the SAP global approach, which aims to help the world run better and achieve the UN Sustainable Goals 2030. Šimon Fiala works with a specialized sustainability team tasked to introduce and incorporate IKEA's people and planet positive strategy into the day-to-day operations here in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. Petr Vítek, with experience from Deloitte, co-founder of Impact Hub, co-founder of Tilia Impact Ventures, and working for many NGOs. We are working together for change for the better, for example. And another host is Johannes Naimer-Stach, country manager in Austria Climate Kick, where he introduced different programs like the Accelerator or Climaton, and how his professional career is connected with fighting against the climate change. And the last, not least, is the Zdeněk Chocholáček, who works for the Sonnentor, which is a company where ecology and sustainability are the cornerstones of their business. They make a really nice products, teas and different products from herbs, and they care for the sustainability from raw materials, organic quality, gentle processing, innovation, packaging, etc. Thank you for being with us today. And to start, now I will give the word to Petr Vítek. We agreed that he will speak mostly from the position of an investor in Tilia Impact Venture, and give us the view of investor, how they selected the businesses they invest in, and also share some interesting stories of companies they are investing. So,
thank you very much. And he gave me like 3 minutes for all that, right? It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. I'll use the next couple of minutes to try to talk a little bit about impact investing and why we believe this is the future of not only investing, but decision making. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the terminology and some trends, and then I'll speak about Tilia, our approach, and a couple of words say something about our portfolio, because we felt that showing you some examples might make a difference for you. This graph basically illustrates the traditional spectrum of investing. Top left, traditional investing. You get market rate returns, and you basically don't have any impact objectives. And those investors typically look only at the risk and return considerations. If you move to the right a little bit, you get to responsible investing, where the investors take the do no harm approach. So basically it's a negative approach. They do any investments that don't do significant harm to society or the environment or governance standards. So that's typically avoiding tobacco, arms trade, now fossil fuels, etc. And the do no harm activities are being redefined, broadened, and deepened, obviously. When you go still to the right, you can still achieve market returns, but you have active alignment with environmental, social, and governance standards, or even alignment with sustainable development goals. The impact investing spectrum is where Fiala, the first impact investment fund here in the Czech Republic, and among the first in the whole CE region, stands. Either it can be finance first or impact first. We can talk about it a little later. And I think it's worth mentioning that there is also venture philanthropy and traditional philanthropy in the top or bottom right corner, where you achieve technically minus 100% negative return, because you give out grants in return for impact. And venture philanthropy basically combines the traditional investing approaches with philanthropy. And I'm also a board member of the Česká spořitelna Foundation, and we've invested 2.5 billion Czech crowns into financial markets with alignment with SDGs, and at the same time we provide grants to drive systemic change in the Czech education sector. So this was just a little bit of terminology where we stand. The trends, I think it's clear what I'm going to say. The money is moving from left to right. I think 2 years ago, every third dollar invested in the US financial markets was at least responsible investing. And it's still moving to the right. The sector of impact investing is growing double-digit every year. And with Fiala, we wanted to bring this also to the Czech Republic. Why is that happening? I think the reasons are obvious. Firstly, there is self-regulation. Perhaps you know Larry Fink, the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world, BlackRock Capital. And years ago, he made it clear that BlackRock's capital strategy will be investing only in companies that have sustainability in the core of their strategy and activities. And they, I think, manage around $8 trillion of assets under management, and they have the leverage to talk to the CFOs and CEOs of large companies and talk about sustainability on the super large scale. So self-regulation is important. I mean, I think for, hedge funds that manage 40% of all financial assets around the world are committed to long-term sustainability, because they see that climate risk and other risks can be quantified, and they threaten or pose risk into their long-term returns of their portfolios. So there is self-regulation, one of trends. Second, obviously regulation. We can talk about the European Green Deal, EU taxonomy on financial markets, but also other initiatives. Third, I think it's not that mentioned that much, but I wanted to point it out, and that's litigation. I think there is thousands of legal lawsuits happening around the world where NGOs, individuals, communities sue governments or large corporations for not acting fast enough and deep enough and broad enough in terms of climate crisis or other issues. And perhaps you noted recently that the Shell was ordered by the court to up their game because of their of the impact of its activities on climate, and that is a legal right, that's a human right being violated of the future generations. So the Dutch court ordered Shell to change their strategy in this respect. I think that's quite unheard of if you compare it to the Czech culture and standards. So the legal litigation is also an important lever in change. The next trend I want to talk about real quick is investors. I've met many investors around the world who typically went through their midlife crisis or another crisis and decided to change the way they invest. And either individually or collectively or even institutionally. And last but not the least, it's obviously the public and media, like the power of the wallet, the consumer, changing consumer behavior, and the pressure of media to build transparency. Yes, I wanted to come back to regulation. It's not only EU, but also, for instance, stock exchanges really changed the game, how non-financial reporting should look like, how transparency needs to be built so that investors can make sound decisions into investing in large stock. We at Tilia, we're small, right? We're basically investing in startups and looking at 3 dimensions. I'm gonna come back to this later. So I'm running out of time. I'll take it super quick. Why Tilia? I mean, we wanted to bring the proof of concept of impact investing to the Czech Republic, that it's really no walking on the rainbow towards the setting sun and hugging unicorns along the way, that it's still a subset of venture capital, that it makes sense, is the future, and it's not a matter if it will happen, but when and how. And so we wanted to really build some portfolio and see what impact looks like, how it can be measured, tracked, managed, reported, etc. So this is why we're doing this. Tilia is small. It's 63 million Czech crowns. We raised it from around 20 investors. All of them are local, mostly private individuals, but we have also 2 institutions that entrusted their money to us to build a portfolio. How impact investing is different from traditional investing. I want to point out 2 most important factors, and that's intentionality of the founders. The founders of the projects we invest into need to be intentional about their startup. So it's really hard to measure, right? If the startup really believes in impact, or it's a kind of a byproduct, right? I always make this example that probably the washing machine is the greatest impact project that happened in the mid-50s and the last century, but it was a byproduct of a market demand. So intentionality is key. We can talk about it later if you're interested. And the second thing that really differentiates impact investment fund is impact measurement, right? Because a lot of people talk about impact, sustainability, but unless you measure it, you're really serious about it, then you're superficial, and it can really end up in greenwashing or impact washing, if you will. We have made 4 investments to date. The 5th will be announced in the coming days. So we align it with SDGs. I'm gonna say 1 sentence about each, and then I'm out of time. Datlab is a Czech company. They have the best data about procurement in the world. No one really knows about them. And half of our taxes go to public procurement, right? And there is a lot of opportunity to improve, so they are able to do amazing things with the data, not only analysis, but products, how to build transparency, and of course, limit corruption or mediocre practices of public tendering. Miva Minimum Waste, again, a winner of multiple awards. They have a solution in 3 loops, how to basically turn packaging into a service for large retailers. They're doing a global pilot with Nestle and others. So we invested in the seed round, and now they have been invested by a strategic investor from the US, and we assisted in with it. Dot glasses, they provide the affordable solution for the bottom of the pyramid with diagnostics and eyeglasses around the world. So I can talk about it later, but it's a great product, great solution. And the last one, Circle, it's a digital waste marketplace, and on top of that consulting, they've now expanded to, I believe, 12 countries, and we're now getting ready to raise another round to help them grow even faster, quite successful. Time is up, so I'll give it back to Michal.
Peter, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your introductory presentation. Which shows some of the trends, something what is coming in the future. I'm still interested in what you partly mentioned at the beginning, if you think the business world is changing now radically, and who is the main driving force? Is it investors, and which type of investors, like banks or angel investors, impact funds like you, or is it the EU with the green taxonomy, Fit for 55, or what is the main driving force?
Well, it's a more complicated question than it looks like, right? Because the first thing that comes is, of course, it's us, right? The innovators that invest into the future, etc. But I don't believe so. If you look at it from the systemic perspective, I believe in the financial sector is the regulation, the EU taxonomy, and the regulation coming from stock exchange and the pressure from investors, like those who want to align their portfolios with environmental, social, and governance standards. I think this is really changing the game. Mm-hmm. So I believe that risk and return are now being supplemented by impact measurement, and now the whole industry is getting to know the same thing. And I was surprised to learn by some old ropes in the industry that basically the same thing happened in the 70s, right? When the golden standard was disposed of, and inflation came, and the oil crisis, and basically inflation came, and risk all of a sudden became a systemic problem, right? And in financial sector wasn't really ready to cope with it the right way, and new processes and new approaches had to be developed back then. So I think we're reliving this in the past decade with impact.
Thank you very much. Johannes, maybe if you can agree or disagree or give your point of view, because Peter is a Czech investor, you have maybe more European point of view.
Yes, I'll try. Dobré ráno. I'm sorry, my Czech is very poor. And I'm also sorry for my haircut. I think it reflects the light that comes here. So I'm blinded already by the light, and I hope I don't blind you with my forehead. I'm Joe, and I'm with an EU agency that supports climate innovators all over Europe. And I'd like to lend you that perspective. And the good thing is that Peter Döll has already kind of picked lots of points that I wanted to talk about. From our first perspective, as a network of 500 European global relevant organizations teaming up, well, I think we have to be aware first that we have 6.5 years still to achieve the 1.5 degrees target as agreed under the Paris Agreement, right? So we are totally running out of time. First, if we don't acknowledge that, we have a different kind of conversation. Second, we all have to do something, just like Peter, you said. We all have to collaborate, and we all have to reach out of our silos wherever we are, no matter if you're corporate, public, education, NGO, whatever. And it's good that people like here meet and cross silos and start collaborating. See, from a funder, from a grant-giving perspective, and that's what I can talk from, this is the lens that I can offer you. I hear from many colleagues in the European institutions that the projects that are submitted are just not good enough. That means basically all corporates, big, small, startups, mainly don't dare to be as good and as targeted towards the decarbonization targets as needed. So one thing that I would like to leave here is that you really have to step up your creativity and bring those projects to the people that have the money, because that's what Peter Döll also said, the money is there. The Green Deal is there, the Recovery Fund is there. Every third euro that goes out needs to go into decarbonization. So there's lots that an SME that is really daring, and I think this is the context here, there's a lot to win if you dare to become carbon neutral in the very end. And I would also say that from another perspective, public organizations, they stop investing good taxpayers' money into efficiency-only solutions. So if you take the decarbonization target seriously, efficiency won't bring us there. So I've been in lots of juries. Some of them are just pitching events. Some of them really decide about whether or not an organization gets money or not. And efficiency is no longer the thing. So you cannot make a bad process more effective and wish for support. And that means that I think risk, or the perception of risk, is something that will drive us, because what we consider as good practices, and where we say, well, let's continue with this because it has always worked, it has now become a risk going forward. Things will bring lots of us out of business quite soon that we have considered in the last 10, 20, or 30 years as just good enough or best practices. And that's not answering your question, most probably, but that's what I wanted to leave in the room. So maybe next question I try to be not as politician as I am, but rather focus.
No, thank you. I understood it, that you are calling for the action, that you are saying that we all are responsible and we all should act now as much as we can.
Maybe I should ask the question to him instead, huh?
Okay. No, I will ask a question if I can. But we have here two global companies, SAP, IKEA. You are both seen as a trendsetters, leaders in your sector. So first, and it's important, if we should take the action now, you are the companies which might show the leadership. So maybe Martin, you can start to tell us how you concretely foresee the role of SAP in field of sustainability. What do you do concretely?
Thank you, Michal, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we have heard that the sustainability is a core business imperative. This was the content of the keynotes. I represent SAP. This is a big corporation, so you know that we have more than 100,000 employees. We also have more than 400,000 customers. So therefore, we don't see this only as a huge business opportunity, but we see it also as a huge responsibility. So to deliver products and services which make the more sustainable world. So therefore, I see it in two perspectives. There are two roles of SAP. One is the enabler, so to enable all our customers to be more sustainable. And the second one is exemplar, because we want to lead by example, that all our employees and also all the companies around us in the ecosystem see how we do the sustainability.
And can you be even more specific, give some practical examples? Okay. What is SAP doing and what you are doing in Brno?
I can be even more specific. We even have some people who represents the things which I will talk about. So I think the one of the cornerstones of the local activities is our environmental management system. So since 2014, I think we are certified for the ISO 14001. So we have the yearly cycle of checking, setting the targets, controlling them, and improving. So this is, our representative is over there, it's Jiří. And we have also locally a sustainability champion. They both, try to improve the things we do even locally. The second big thing is that we have a SAP Global Environmental Policy. You can find it also at the booth downstairs, and it has 5 goals. So we try to reduce the carbon emissions and energy consumption. We want to reduce the waste and find also better ways how to, segregate waste. We also try to decrease the water consumption. The fourth one is a nice one, because we want also to empower our people and educate our people to understand the sustainability and then come up with the good ideas. And the fifth one is to produce the software which can enable all the customers. And along those goals, we have also many local activities. If you want to know more, I would also ask you to visit the SAP Integrated Report, because since I think 2012 we also give publicly all the information about our not only financial numbers but also social and environmental numbers. And I think this is quite a good example for other companies, how you can go public with all our activities we do.
Thank you very much. And Šimon, can you build on it, and say what you think are the main drivers from your perspective of IKEA, which is also kind of trendsetter, but in totally different sector?
Absolutely, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this conference. What a beautiful reason to visit my favorite city, Brno. Yeah, maybe I'll begin with a memory. Just recently I was talking to a journalist, and when the interview was over, she asked me off record, so is IKEA real about sustainability? Is this the real thing? And you probably want to know the answer too. But back then I was thinking that that's a peculiar question, because of course IKEA is real about sustainability. That's how we want to do business. That's how we want to win the customer. And we don't want to sell sustainability to customers, just, this is sustainable, buy it, or buy it at a premium even. That's not how we want to go about it. We design our products through what we call democratic design principles. So 5 design principles: form, function, price, sustainability, and quality. And therefore, sustainability is always there. It's part of the design. Sometimes it's emphasized, sometimes it's a little bit in the background, but it's always there. But I don't want to talk about products because I don't design products. They are designed in Älmhult in Sweden. And in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary, we don't get to talk too much into what the products look like. But what we can do is communicate to the customers. We are in charge as a retail organization of the communication and discussion with the customer. And we are in a big transformation. We are transforming from a classical, cash and carry retailer into something else. We want to be there with the customers throughout the journey, throughout their life. We want to sell them furniture, but we sometimes also want to take the furniture back, remanufacture it, resell it. We want to just be sort of a service provider that goes with the customers. Far future, we're just by far not there yet, but we are working on that. And to give you a concrete example, this is a little bit child of mine. I'm working on a project called Guaranteed Buyback of Children's Furniture. And the idea is that we guarantee customers that for selected range of children's furniture, such as cots, small beds, changing tables, we will buy it back for a reduced price when people no longer need it in a year and a half or 2 years. And that's how our way how to commercialize and invite customers into the circular journey. We started, it didn't look good. We asked people, would you like to lease furniture? And said, no, we hate this concept. How would that work? What if we break it? Would we pay a fine? What if we lose it? What if we give it to a relative? How would that work? We don't want to lease furniture. So we came with a way how to, come with a concept that's palatable to the consumers, something that they can use, and brings us one step further towards a circular way of doing business.
Thank you. And what is the project you are most happy about from the recent times?
Okay. We also have another circular service. We call it Second Life of Furniture. That's more wide. The idea is that customers send us pictures and send us a description of the furniture they have at home, and we create an ad hoc quotation, and we tell them, okay, for this chest of drawers, we'll give you, 1,000 crowns. Take it or leave it. And then they can bring it to the store, cash in a voucher, and then go in the store and buy something new, something they need right now. The beautiful thing about this is that we don't do this for charity, we don't do this for PR. We do it because we have business case behind it, and we know that the customers come back, they get the voucher, and they buy 3 times as much value of products. And they are happy because they want the products, they want the stuff, right? And we are starting this journey with them.
It's similar motivation as Václav Muchna was calling for. Do a business with sustainability, based on sustainability. And now I'm coming to a part, there is still just one question from 10 a.m., so probably prepared, but it's regarding SMEs, and Sonnentor is SME. So maybe we can, and you still didn't spoke, Zdeněk. Maybe you have like easier job because Sonnentor is kind of love brand, working in the field of environment with nice herbs. But maybe there is some secret, hidden secret. How you build that such a love brand?
Hello. It's hard to say how we build this love brand because it is love brand. I hope so. And but what is important is that whole 30 years in the Čekovice, our main value is sustainability, and we don't think about sustainability as about advantage. For us, it's part of our DNA, and we are not able to work in a different way. And I would say that our employees and the people who will come to the Sonnentor as employees brings more and more ideas. So I think when you show your customers, your visitors, because we are also the tourist place, when you show your customers, you mean it right, you are totally transparent, and they start to believe you. You are doing the things really sustainably. Then you can become a love brand.
Thank you. And you also mentioned when we spoke yesterday that many of the environmental innovations and new ideas, which are not like concretely connected just with herbs or agriculture, are coming from your employees. So maybe you can also share how you work with your employees, how you encourage them to be innovative.
I think it's about one of the advantage of our company and advantage to be love brand, that a lot of people would like to work in our company, and a lot of people came from much more bigger companies, maybe with better brands, I don't know, and these people are there because of the sense, because of the purpose of our brand. And when you are doing what you are loving, you work better, and these people bringing a lot of new ideas how to be better, how to bring new ways how to innovate our products, and that's great because it's not the work of our management, it's work of our people.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. There is one question in the chat for everybody. There is not mentioned anybody specific. What do you consider the biggest challenge for SMEs is to be more sustainable? Have you an answer? Joe? Yeah, maybe you have many international experiences, so maybe you can share some of the case studies from some SMEs which were not or found the new business opportunity in a sustainable business.
Yes, I can try.
Or say something else because you are not answering the questions.
That's what we do. Yeah, that's our thing. I've been next to Climate Kick. I've been consulting startups and SMEs on this topic, and I think what I consider most of the times missing is a common language with CEOs or with general managers about the real context. So in Austria, you don't learn sustainability or climate crisis in school. I don't know, maybe in Czechia you do, we don't. So you don't necessarily speak the same language, you don't necessarily have the same understanding of the topic, right? So almost every time I go and am asked what a terrible language English is, to help and consult, we usually have to take a step back and understand what is going on in the world, what is scientific facts, and where is the company positioned in a value chain, and why, if all value chains ultimately have to decarbonize, it also affects an SME. So it's oftentimes about awareness building and awareness raising and giving people a language. That's, I think, most of the time the starting point. You asked me about examples, and if I try to answer this time your question.
It was two questions actually. Challenges, why not, and examples of becoming more sustainable finally.
Yeah, so I mean, I brought some examples from startups that we in the last couple of years, 10 years, as a European startup accelerator have seen. And they are just flashlights. One was Lilium Aviation. Not sure if you know of these. They basically have a flying e-taxi established. So they fly you with a battery-driven drone, or now it looks more like an airplane from A to B. There is another startup that I found interesting. It's called Winesect, W and then Insect. It's a French one. It's, I think, the biggest alternative protein producer in the world now. They were started in 2014 in France, and they produce alternative proteins for fish and pets, basically. And I do also have a very dear startup called Refurbed, and what makes it very dear to me is that they produce the business case inside eBay, and eBay was too big to focus on refurbished products, so thus they just spun it off and built their own brand. And what happened is they are now, I think in 13, I just checked yesterday, but I think in 13 countries, they are now available. They have 100,000 of clients, and the founders are, I think, 32 or something. So it's really interesting what SMEs or small companies can do in a very quick time if they focus on solving unserved problems in the market.
Thank you.
I'd like to pitch in. I believe there is one philosophical problem, and that's externalities, right? The cost of this table is, let's say, 10,000 Czech crowns. You sell it for 15,000. But if you take a look at it from cradle to grave, the whole life cycle, perhaps the overall cost should have been 20K, because it has a cost, right? The CO2 has a cost, and the natural resources of the virgin materials have a cost that is much higher if you don't price in the externalities, right? So unless the government or ourselves don't change the framework, right? If it's cheaper to throw something out than to recycle, because you just leave it at a landfill for future generations as a present, then it's really difficult to build a business case for sustainable business practices. So I think we need to reframe how we price in the externalities so that we try to, address this, dysfunctionality of the market. So externalities need to be priced in to build markets actually for companies that can really develop circular business models. And it's difficult, it's bloody difficult. Second problem I see for SMEs is short-term mindset versus the long-term, right? Sustainability, in blunt words, it's long-term approach to everything, right? If you did every business decision with the impact of 7 generations come forth, then we would be taking different business decisions if we have quarterly results or short-term goals. So I believe the way we think about business is super short-term, and then we have these long-term goals, and it doesn't play, right? It's like the climate crisis. We have global, probably the biggest global problem we have ever faced as a humanity, but we have a local governance, and at most 4-year cycle that we look at, right? So this doesn't match, and if we don't fix this, we have very little chance of actually winning the game, unfortunately. And then thirdly, I mean, it's so bloody complicated, right? That how to be sustainable. So a lot of SMEs, they have a lot of on their plate already, and they don't know where to begin. It's too complicated, and the first steps are always the most difficult. If they cannot build the business case and really perhaps build the common agreement within the small company that actually makes sense, right? It's not just the gut feeling, but how to translate it into the figures, then the rest of the company will understand that it makes sense. How to translate sustainability into brand value or customer loyalty and concepts like that. So I think these are the three biggest issues I see from my perspective.
Šimon, would you like to react? Because you have a positive experience with working with some startups. So what was the incentive and which opportunity you gave them, or what was the motivation for them to work with you? What was your motivation?
Okay, I should say to begin with that it's very difficult to collaborate with IKEA. IKEA is a global behemoth with supplier standards that sometimes puzzle the brave companies that approach us that they would like to do a project with us and then end up in years of preparation. But apart from that, we really do try to involve fresh companies. Circle was mentioned here. I was very happy because apart from circular services, I also attend to the problem of waste, or the topic of waste in retail in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. And we go to a waste management company and we ask them questions, and they are very puzzled because they are not used to customers asking what's happening with the waste that they had taken away. But we asked them, so what do you do with this fraction? How do you dispose of it? Is this the best way from the ecological perspective to do this? And they don't want to tell us, first of all, and second of all, they usually say, yeah, this is the best we can do, and that's how it is. So we go for second opinion, and we ask Circle, for example, or other companies, so do you see an opportunity to recycle this fraction in a better way? Mm-hmm. What would it mean practically? What would the logistics around it be, etc.? So I can give you a specific example. Just recently we had this mishap with two products called Talrika and Heroisk. It was plates made of PLA plastic. And it turned out that if put in microwaves, they can be structurally damaged and potentially harmful to people using them. So we had to do a recall and we had to take all these dishes back. So what to do with them, right? PLA. We asked people and they said, yeah, PLA, that's absolutely impossible to recycle. It's very bad material. You should have gone there in the first place. But we inquired further and we found this company in Ostrava called Nilmor. And what they started to do is they create garments out of PLA. And so we told them, so we have these dishes, do you want to try? And they said, okay. So we sent them the stock from Ostrava store and said, do your thing. And so they melted it, or I don't know what they do with plastic. And a few weeks later, they told us they did run the industrial test and it looks good. They can make clothes out of the deemed hopeless dishes that we were supposed to incinerate. So there are ways to do this, and we always enjoy cooperating with young, fresh companies, though be aware it's not easy to cooperate with IKEA.
But it's possible, finally. And Martin, can you give your point of view from SAP as a global company with hundreds of thousands of customers? What are the SAP products and how you can change the value chain? What is there for SMEs from your side?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. I think I cannot explain about all our products because we have so many. But anyway, with our sustainability portfolio, we want to address the main challenges as we spoke about already. This is the zero emissions, zero waste, zero inequality in a social space. And also we have a nice area which is addressed in Brno. This is called Steering to Zero. So in Brno we are now currently implementing a product called SAP Sustainability Tower. Control Tower, sorry, and this is the product which should give you transactional and analytical insights into the similar topic as I spoke about in the integrated report. So it will not be created annually as we did it in the past, but it will be like online possibility to see how your key figures, and maybe this is what Petr said, so then maybe we can team up and then put the right numbers into it, because every company would then have insights into all the social and ecological, environmental impacts of the company. And if anybody is still asking, if this is a business opportunity, just this year we created 30 positions. We invest a lot. Yeah. This is not only this location, but also around the world. So this is really a business opportunity for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We have a couple of last minutes. And my last question is, following the short video we saw before the keynote speech, which was very emotive. The world is changing. We need the reaction is needed. We have to transform the society to the low carbon. So the short question, I don't know if easy one, but short, is will we make it? Anybody?
No.
Or everybody? Can you tell more?
Not in time. Well, I'm lucky to have studied geography here in Brno at the turn of the millennium. And so I have one semester in climatology and meteorology. And given how the climate system works, I think we don't have 6.5 years. We have much less. Maybe we're even beyond the threshold. And we have the high CO2 concentrations in 4 million years. And it's not coming back. So I'm honestly very skeptical to our ability as a humanity to act swiftly enough. And I think these brave initiatives give me hope. But if I look at the big picture, I don't think we're on the pathway to make it for the SDG number 13, the climate change. And we've known this for decades, and I think we as humans behave super short-sighted. Even our brains are wired like that, unfortunately. So unless we start collaborating on a global level and like dispose of the national mindset, which is in the near future super unlikely, we're very unlikely to meet the targets we committed to in the Paris agreements and others. So I would love to give you a more hopeful answer, but I think the evidence is super clear. Unless, and I think there is 2 ways where a miraculous technology comes, how to extract CO2 and other greenhouse gases like methane from the atmosphere. That's unlikely given the physics and chemics we understand today. Or it's geoengineering, which is like super controversial, and I don't know how this topic could be governed globally, right? How do we geoengineer our planet to stay within the 1.5 margin of heating? So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I had exactly the same 2 cents, unfortunately. I mean, if we are here in the room and think it's going to be fine, it's rather going to, pardon my English, it's going to be fucked. I mean, let's face it. If we continue as is, and what really scares me is that we are going to crash quickly. In 2050, we are, 3.5 degrees above the threshold before the industrialization. This over continental masses is, I think, 5 degrees, so that is even more, right? I'm going to die around 2055, so for me it's a problem. When I'm weakest, I'm already there where it's going to be very crazy. But my kids, they live until 2100, and my grandchildren to 2150 possibly, and my grand-grandchildren to 2200. So we don't get it right in 2050. And we don't even kind of touch the brake, right? So what does it mean for my kids and my grandchildren? And I mean, if we all agree to stop pretending we're doing fine in whatever aspect, then yes, we have, I would say, 5% chance to fix it, not to make it good, but to fix it in a way. And otherwise, everything we think is difficult or impossible to solve now, whatever the question is, social injustice, whatever, is getting a new layer to it, a new dimension, that is the climate crisis, and it's becoming even more impossible to solve. So I don't have hope at all. I just see signs of people waking up to the challenge, and maybe, we really have a chance if we all start now. But frankly, don't leave this room with hope. Leave it with ambition.
Zdeněk.
I would like to be optimist, but it's it's not so easy. But I'm living in the small village Mikulčice, in what this village was hit 2 months ago by tornado, and I have to be pessimist too. And but I believe that if each of us makes small change in your businesses, when you start to think about what we could do better, we have chance. I believe in it.
Thank you. Martin?
Okay, I'm a rather optimistic person, so I acknowledge there is an issue, but I think we still should team up and work, do our best. I think this conference is just a good example of it, because we all come together and then we think about it, we talk about it, we can take action. So I'm rather optimistic we need to do something.
Shimon?
Thank you. I should say this goes way beyond my expertise, and so what you will hear is an opinion, personal one. I absolutely agree what was said here, that we're probably not going to make the targets, and it's going to be bad. At the same time, I am a lifelong optimist, and I believe that with a good mix of mitigation and adaptation, we can still get the most out of our chances, and do stuff about it, and see how that goes. And I always recall this little doodle that has been on the internet for a while, and it's like a conference, and there is a guy standing up and shouting, "What if this is a big hoax and we'll create a better world for nothing?" So why not try? Why not do it? Why not try our best and see what happens?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If I would ask the question myself, I always believe it's important to think globally but act locally on concrete, small projects, small enterprises to make what makes sense to you as a person, and it makes me optimistic, like myself. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Šimon. Thank you, Petr. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Zdeněk, for your discussion, interesting ideas. All of you, I think, will be here also during the next events and in the evening. So if somebody of you was hesitating to ask the question now, you can ask in person later on. And also thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will be active participants of the next discussion. Thank you. Taky cool.